Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 82 of Warhammer 4000 Imperial magazine. We're getting the second of the 3 Paragon Warsuits for the Battle Sisters, and in today's game the campaign for Ramasus rages on as we'll be salvaging a Necron ship. Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
We're bringing issue 82 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperial magazine today. This issue came with the second of the Paragon Warsuits for the Battle Sisters. Obviously you can't see them in today's game, but you can still skip ahead if you want to watch it before we go into the issue overview. We have phase 3 of the war in Obelisk and Lyrak. This goes over the demon prince Be'lakor and his machinations around the planet Colossi, which is the homeworld of the knightly House Raven, sending his minions off to do nefarious deeds to gain control of the planet for himself. And then some background on Be'lakor the Dark Master, the first demon prince, and he is noteworthy in that he is a demon prince of Chaos Undivided, as he was created by all 4 of the Chaos gods. And then a little bit there about how the end eventually came to Colossi and the head of House Raven. Now some background on the Craftworld Eldari, or the Asyani as they call themselves. These are Eldari that have escaped the 4 of their race on these ships called Craftworlds. They rely a lot on prophecy and psychic visions, so it makes them very difficult to predict, and no human could ever really hope to understand them. And a bit here on the 5 most noteworthy craft worlds. We have Ulthwé, which has particularly good psychers. The Alatok, who have notable rangers and scouts. Biel-Tan, who are particularly warlike and they have multiple aspect warriors. The Iandan have a lot of wraith constructs. And then the Saimhan, who are prolific jet bike riders and enjoy high-speed warfare. And there are other craft worlds. Who knows how many are really out there. Some of them are so well hidden. We have a short story about a battle sister Celestian and her sisters fighting against the Word-Bearers Heretic Astartes. You have some cool artwork and a bit of backstory about Celestians. They're sort of elite battle sisters that often serve as bodyguards for higher ranked battle sisters, but they're also the pilots of Paragon Warsuits as well. And so there's the conclusion of the short story, and we can get into the build guide for our second Paragon Warsuit. It's very similar to the previous one. It does note here that there is a fancier sword on the sprue, which is intended for the superior of the unit, so you want to keep hold of that for the next issue. But otherwise it's fairly similar. All of the options are the same as the previous one. It tells you to build this one with a mace and a heavy bolter, I believe. Obviously you can choose which weapons you have, since we got the datasheet in the previous issue. So there you can see the finished versions there, and then the painting guide is much the same. Slightly different details to the previous issue because it's got the mace in the painting guide. But yeah, once again, otherwise it's basically entirely the same. It's basically just a very big battle sister. You've used all of these colours and techniques before, and you can see the finished model there. So now I hand over to Will, and we take you into the second game of our narrative campaign.
No new rules with this issue. We're straight on to the second battle of our campaign, which is taking place on the planet Tragis. This is a dead world, a barren rock of no strategic value, except that a Necron starship has crashed upon it, so both sides are sending forces to try and locate them. The Necrons obviously don't want the Imperium getting their hands on their tech, whereas the Imperium would find great benefit from gaining some Necron technology. So we have our next campaign mission, Amidst the Wreckage, which is a 75 power mission. We're using 4 battle mats with deployment zones 10 inches from each of the long edges, and then objectives as shown. Well, it's right in the middle and then in the middle of each quadrant. The primary objective is called Salvage, which is the progressive objective. Each time a unit from your army completes the Salvage action, then you gain D6 victory points. And the Salvage action is performed by as many units as you want at the end of the player's movement phase that are in range of an objective marker, with no enemy units engaged with the same objective marker. It's complete at the end of the player's next command phase, as long as the unit is still within range of it. And each player can perform the action up to twice on each objective marker. But otherwise we choose our secondaries as normal. So we will show you our armies and get into the game. So here's my 75 power Necron army. We're led by the Catacomb Command Barge. Other characters, we've got the Scorpec Destroyer Lord, the Royal Warden, the Technomancer, and the Chronomancer. The Command Barge is the Warlord with Enduring Will for -1 damage. Technomancer will have the Photonic Transubjector Arcana to ignore the first failed save per turn. And then for other units, we've got 2 units of warriors and the 5 mortals for troops, as well as 2 crypto thralls, 3 scorpic destroyers with a plasma sight, 5 death marks, 5 flayed ones, a unit of 3 scarabs, 3 tomb blades, 3 wraiths, and the locust heavy destroyer. And I can also mention my campaign reward, having won the previous game, which allows me to reroll up to 3 advance rolls during the game. And here is the Imperial army.
Yeah, so we're going for a mixed force of all 3 factions. For the Marines, we've got Calgar, who will be my Warlord, the Victrix Guard, and the Primaris Lieutenant. And then 2 units of 5 Assault Intercessors, the Aggressors, the Outriders, the Invader, and the Suppressors. Then there's the usual AdMech contingent with the Dominus, who will be part of the Artisans Holy Order, and the unit of Skitarii Rangers and the Cataphrone Destroyers. And then I've got a Bastard's Escort and the Penitent Engine as well.
So here's the battlefield, and get most of it in shot. So we spread out the terrain kind of in random places, not aligning with the detail on the board to represent the crashed wreckage of the ship. So just use your imagination a bit. Imagine these are all bits of crashed starship, apart from the area terrain buildings, which are as normal. And from here you can see all 5 objectives. So 1, 2 along the top, 3 on the bottom, 5 right in the centre. Have a look at my deployment first. Got the Wraiths on the left flank, the Tomb Blades, the Chronomancer, the Crypto Thralls, the Technomancer. In the middle is all the infantry with the Warriors, with Gauss Flayers, the Immortals and the Death Marks, the Royal Warden and then the Command Barge. And on the other flank we've got the Scarabs and all 3 of the Destroyer units. And the Warriors with Gauss Flayers are in Strategic Reserves, and the Flayed ones are in Dimensional Translocation to arrive later. And then for the Imperial deployment, so this is their right flank, your left.
So we've got the Invader, the unit of Assault Intercessors, the Battle Sisters a little bit further behind the cover for now. Got the Penitent Engine concealed by the Hematite Reactor. Then all my AdMech forces, got the Skitarii behind that wall for some dense cover with the Dominus behind them, and the Cataphrons to their right. Then the rest of the Marines, we've got Calgar with the Victrix Guard behind, next to a unit of Assault Intercessors with the Lieutenant behind, the Suppressors behind the Pinko container, and the Outriders on my far left flank, and the Aggressors are in Strategic Reserves. And my secondary objective is going to be attrition as well.
My secondary objective is going to be domination, and it's also worth saying that because the Necrons won the previous game, they are currently ascendant in the war for the Ramasus system, which means that for the Imperial side, once per game they can automatically pass a morale test, whereas for the Necron side, once per game a non-character unit may gain +1 attack for the duration of that phase. And final note, before we start, as in the previous game, we'll be filming this in a slightly more narrative style to go with the narrative campaign, so a bit less dice rolling shown unless it's important, and a bit more narrative description of what's going on. But we certainly will show the roll to see who gets to choose who goes first. So I've rolled a 5.
I hope not.
So therefore I will go first, so I don't get shot as badly. So we'll be into Necron's turn 1. Battle Roll 1, we've got Protocol of the Eternal Guardian. I'll go for the directive that gives everything cover.
Yeah, my Sacred Right is going to be Divine Guidance for the Battle Sisters. My Miracle Dice was a 1, and I'm going to pick Shroud Psalm as my Canticle and Protector Imperative as my Doctriner.
And the Marines are in the Devastated option. So in my command phase, my will be done went on the Immortals. The Chronomatron also went on the Immortals to give them an invulnerable save. And then all the infantry moved towards the central objective, not getting anyone ranged to salvage it yet, followed by the Technomancer, the Royal Warden, and the Command Barge. Death Marks will stay still. Tomb Blades are moving up in the middle, and behind the blue box on the left, the Chronomancer and the Crypto Thralls, both of whom are going to salvage Objective 3. Doesn't say anything in the rules about not doing the salvage multiple times on the same objective in the same turn. Just says units from your army. It doesn't say only 1 per objective per turn. So I'm going to go for the maximum of 2 per objective on Objective 3. The Wraiths are going to stay behind the Hematite Reactor over here for now, because running forwards into the open is probably not such a good idea. And on the other flank, well, the Scarabs you can see are actually just in front of the Command Barge there, and the Destroyers have moved up to hide behind this wall. Both the Scorpic Destroyers and the Lord are going to salvage Objective 4. It does turn the Lord's Aura off, but it gets the objective done. On to the shooting phase, we'll start with the Locust Heavy Destroyer. It's going to fire at the Cataphrone Destroyers. And we'll show this because it might be important. It has 1 shot which hits on a 3, but re-rolling 1. So it did hit. It wounds on a 2. It's strength 10, that's toughness 5. That's a wound.
6 plus invulnerable. No.
So 3d3 damage will just kill 1. Command Barge at the same target. We'll show this as well. So 3 shots on 2s. Yes, they all hit. And 4s to wound. 2. Actually, I think it's 3s, but I didn't roll.
So 5 pluses. Ooh, made 1.
D3 damage. 3. Kills a second. The Royal Warden will try and finish it off. Oh, he missed. 2 Cataphront destroyers are destroyed, and then a storm of Gauss fire from the remainder of my army killed 8 of the 10 Skitarii Rangers and did a wound to an assault intercessor on the other side. No charging or close combat, so in the morale phase the Rangers would have to take a morale test.
So I'm just going to auto-pass it with my once per game.
From the Necrons being Ascendant. Therefore, we'll be on to Imperium turn 1.
So on my right flank, the invaders peeking out around the side of the building, and you can just about see one of the crypto thralls behind the blue container. The battle sisters move forward to get in range of the objective, and then they and the assault intercessors are going to salvage that objective. Penitent engine advanced to get around the hemotrope reactor, and it rolled a 2, and I re-rolled it and rolled a 2 again, but at least I got that command point back. Chaplain Master went on the suppressors. I'm also spending 2 command points for Data Blessed Auto Sermon, so Benediction of the Omnissiah is active for this round. The Cataphront. And then all the Admech are going to stay where they are. Then Calgar the Lieutenant and the Assault Intercessors and those Vitreous Guard all moved around that building, but the Assault Intercessors and the Vitreous Guard are going to salvage the objective for now. And the Outriders moved out along the flank of the battlefield for now. Start shooting with the Invader. It's going to put everything into the Crypto Thralls. So 2 shots with the multi-melter on 3s. I will spend a command point to reroll that 1. So 2 hits. Wounding on 3s because they're toughness 5. Nothing.
Also, bot rifles did nothing to the Crypto Thralls either.
Do the suppressors next. They're going to shoot at the warriors. Shots on 3s, rerolling everything. 8 hits. Wounding on 3s. Rerolling 1s called the lieutenant. 6 wounds.
Devastator Doctrine puts them on a 6 to save. Made none of those. Does anything come back? 2, reroll, 2 come back.
Some more shooting. Kill 2 Scarab bases, not quite enough to destroy the unit, unfortunately. So only charge is the Penitent Engine because you're advanced in charge. It's going to charge the Scarabs. Going to need a decent roll, like more than a 3, so I'm going to reroll that. Into a 5, that's not enough.
So that's the state after the first battle round. We'll be on to Necron's turn 2. Protocol is Southern Storm, and I'm going to go for the directive which lets things do actions and still shoot. The Marines are into the Tactical Doctrine. Miracle Dice was a 4.
We'll do Bulwark Imperative, and then I'll just hold Benediction of the Omnissiah as my counter.
I'll show my will be done and that sort of thing in a moment, but at the end of the command phase I complete the salvage action 4 times, getting d6 victory points for each, so we'll just roll all of them at once. That's 14. That's perfectly average, I think. So in the middle, my will be done went on the Immortals again. They've moved up to the wall there. The Warriors have moved forward onto Objective 5 in the centre, and they will start salvaging it at the end of the phase. Technomancer is moving up. He's also going to salvage. The Command Barge moved into the middle as well. The Royal Warden following the Immortals, and the Tomb Blades have moved into the centre. The Death Knights at the back have stayed where they are. Out on the left, Chronometron went on the Wraiths, which moved up forwards towards the Invader. The Chronomancer rolled a tremendous advance roll and got right up behind them. The Crypto Thralls didn't roll quite so well, and so they stay behind the Hemotrope Reactor for the moment. And from the reinforcement step, I also brought on my unit of Warriors from Strategic Reserves over on this side. The Destroyer Lord has moved out slightly to try and block off the aggressors a bit further, but otherwise we're basically just staying where we are, and the Flayed ones have come down from Dimensional Translocation to reinforce this flank. Now remember, Objectives 3 and 4 I've already salvaged the maximum of 2 times, so I can't do that again. Oh, and this Scarab base is just going to hide for now, because it's a bit of a liability with attrition being the secondary. And a slight adjustment actually, of course, is I do have Domination as my secondary, so the Crypto Thralls are in fact going to stay behind this box, where they can continue to hold it. Chronomancer's staff is actually an assault weapon, so even though you advance, he can shoot it at the Invader, hitting on a 4, no. Wraiths hit the Invader 3 times, techno-oracular targeting used to automatically wound, but then no more wounds.
So it's a 6 plus armour? No.
3 damage. And then all the Warriors over here took it down to 1 wound. Heavy Destroyer is going to shoot at the Penitent Engine. It's on 3, rerolling 1s, yes. Wounds on 2, rerolling 1s, yes. Yeah, no save, so 3d3 damage, 8.
4 on 5s. Oh, it ignored 3, but it's still dead.
Command Barge will shoot the last Cataphron. They will hit. 2 wounds.
I didn't make either save.
So it dies. And then the remainder of my shooting finished off the remaining 2 Skitarii Rangers, killed 5 Battle Sisters, and did 3 wounds to an Outrider. Then we have the charge phase, where the Wraiths will charge the Invader. And they made it into contact, and with 12 attacks, not surprisingly, they did do the 1 wound to finish it off, and it didn't blow up.
And the sisters have to make a morale test, but I'm just going to spend the 1 miracle dice to get an automatic pass.
At the end of the turn, I do control a majority of the objectives for domination, so I gain 3 victory points, going up to 17, and we're on to Imperium turn 2.
I'm just going to see how many victory points I get from my... I do complete the action 4 times, Well, I would get 19 victory points, but I am just going to concede. Even though I rolled fairly well, probably not going to be able to stop the Necrons doing the action in the middle, so they'll probably break ahead again. And I'll probably spend the rest of the game trying to take another objective, and I can't bring on the aggressors this turn either. And the Necrons are probably just going to get more points for domination. The Battle Sisters and the Assault Sisters can run away from the Wraiths, but then they'll just move on to the objective there and do it, and I don't really have enough shooting to shift anything off it. And I lost 4 units, so I'm not going to sneak in attrition.
Yeah, you're too far away from the objectives that you haven't salvaged yet, really, and the middle one is going to be a lot of effort to clear off and then do actions on later.
I mean, basically, I have 2 turns left to do actions. I'm going to have to spend those 2 turns fighting.
Yeah, and I'm missing 3 models, so like my entire firebase is still intact, and your shooting is quite significantly reduced as well. So whether on victory points or just on sheer killiness, yeah, I think it's already clear that the Necrons have this game. So with a Necron victory on the battle for Tragis, I will get to pick in future games a possibility of selecting a unit that is not a character, and hit rolls of 6 will automatically wound for that unit. So with all that, we will recap the game for you now. Well, that was game for issue 82 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. I won't ask you how it went, because we can all see how it went.
Yeah, it didn't go well. I think I probably deployed too heavily on the left. I probably should have just put Calgar in the middle and sent him and the Penitent Engine and stood in the middle and denied it to you. If the Penitent Engine had rolled slightly higher on its advance roll, you wouldn't have been able to do the action at all in your second turn.
Yeah, that Penitent Engine actually was just an inch short of denying me. And also that was the turn I was using my command protocol to shoot and still do an action as well. So if I hadn't been able to do that, then I would have had reduced firepower in turn 3 as I did the action. I'm sure the Penitent Engine would have still died.
If I'd killed the Crypto Thralls, you would have had to keep a unit back to do your home objective again. That would have started putting you on the back foot, because if you can just stop units completing the action, you have to spend units to do the action again, and that really limits your movement and your shooting.
And just not getting attrition, which you would have got if you killed the Crypto Thralls, so it would have been quite a big swing as well.
Or another Scarab base. The way the objectives worked, bearing in mind it's at the end of the movement phase, you effectively have 4 turns, because you need to have turn 5 available to complete the action. So I suppose you have to have cleared the objective turn 3 to be able to do it in turn 4, I suppose. So I would have had to use Calgar and his group to try and take one of your objectives. The 2 closest objectives were completely covered in Necrons. So I mean, I would have spent the rest of the game clearing the objective. I would have planned to pick one, probably, and then you could just feed units into range.
And then I could have just be racking up domination. And I probably would have ended up being able to salvage objective 1 eventually as well. You only had 5 Battle Sisters and 5 Assault Sisters over there. I suppose you might have sent the aggressors over there to reinforce it, but even then, all you're doing is preventing me getting victory points. It doesn't get you any more victory points.
And also, I really don't like objectives that require random rolling for victory points, because you could just as easily roll badly, even though you might be on top, and then still lose.
Yeah, I could easily have rolled, say, 6 victory points in total from the 4 dice. It's quite unlikely, but could happen. Because of the way the primary worked, this is a rare game where the secondaries might have actually been quite significant. I mean, attrition is higher than the average roll of doing the salvage action, so you're not getting it 2 turns in a row as well, because I killed 4 units or something in turn 2. It actually would be significant.
But to be honest, I think if I'd gone first, we probably would have just seen the same result, but with an Imperial victory. I probably would have shot enough of your forces to make it harder for you to complete the action, and in trying to complete the action, that would have limited your forces over and over. I mean, if I'd gone first, I could have turbo boosted the bikes over to your home objective, just got in range, and then you couldn't do the action in your first turn. And I probably would have gotten attrition.
I actually think the game would be improved if you could only do the salvage once per objective per turn.
Yeah.
Maybe that was what they intended, but they didn't actually write that.
Yeah, it just says units can, so...
I mean, I would have still ended up, for example, just leaving the Crypto Thralls in the same place to do the action on the same objective 2 turns running. So it might not have made a huge difference, but it would have just meant that the scoring was not all at the start, and also gives you a little bit more chance to interrupt it, I suppose. I suppose that matters a lot for the middle one, actually, as well, because you can't just walk up to it and do it twice like I did. It's nice to have a slightly different mission, because, slight spoilers, we're going to see a lot of generic capture and control missions for the remainder of this campaign, but perhaps one that just didn't quite work as well as it could have done.
Or it's one that looks exciting on paper, but in practice probably isn't. But I'm not too mad about losing, because the bonus for the Imperium, I think, is I can choose a character to have +1 toughness, and that includes named characters, but to be honest, I don't think it would have actually made that much difference. A captain with toughness 5 might help him if he fights destroyers or something, but if it's really bad, I'll probably use transhuman physiology on a marine character, and having a canoness with toughness 4 probably isn't going to make a difference to her anyway.
We didn't get to see the bonus I was using in this game because I'd made 2 advanced rolls and it was a 6 and a 5, I think, so didn't need to re-roll any, but I can see uses for that one, certainly. Might see that one, but the new one as well is also quite handy, auto wounding on 6s to hit for a whole unit, so, you know, a unit of warriors or something with all those shots that they get. Otherwise, the Necrons actually go to Ascendant, which I honestly wasn't expecting to be the case at this point in the campaign, because the Necrons have really struggled to win more than one game in a row for the last 20 issues or so, but we will get to see that effect next game. And speaking of next game, we will of course have our third Paragon Warsuit, and we'll get to actually see them on the battlefield. But there's probably about it for this episode, so let us know what you thought in the comments below. Now, obviously it was a bit of a shorter game, but that's just how it goes sometimes with the dice, as you saw. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy the video. Again, leave your thoughts about the sort of slightly more narrative campaign style. Let us know what you think. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.